Good evening, everyone. We'll be starting our second class on Reserve Bank of India. In the very first class, I gave you some factual information about the institutions about which we are reading, right? And this is Reserve Bank of India, the central bank of this country. And in those factual informations, we have seen that the bank was established on 1st of April 1935 on the basis of advice of whom? Hilton Young Commission, right? Which is officially called the Commission on Indian Currency and Finance, right? And an act was passed to passed to this effect in 1934, which is called RBI Act 1934. So this is the basic legal framework by which Reserve Bank of India is working as the central bank of this country. है ना? Whatever power Reserve Bank of India is having in this country, it is because of this particular act. And if there has to be some changes in the functions and power of Reserve Bank of India, first there needs to be bring about some changes in RBI Act of 1934, right? So this act give Reserve Bank of India the power to become the central bank of this country, right? Second thing is about the office. I told you that the headquarter is situated at where? Mumbai. There are 4 local boards of Reserve Bank of India, and then we have regional offices of Reserve Bank of India in almost all state of India, right? Since Reserve Bank of India is providing banking facilities to all the state government, it is the bank to the state government apart from the bank to the central government, so it requires the establishment of Reserve Bank of India even in the state of India, right? So we have the presence of Reserve Bank of India in all the state of India, and they are called regional offices, right? Then we have seen the Reserve Bank of India was acquired by the government of India on 1st of Jan 1949, right? And this is a very significant year in the development of banking in our country. There are 2 important reasons I provided. The first was that the bank was brought under the direct control of Reserve Bank of India, so that Reserve Bank of India can be used to supervise all other banks, right? And the second important thing that took place in 1949 was the passage of an important act in Parliament, which is called Banking Regulations Act of 1949, right? And through that act only, we provided an extensive power to Reserve Bank of India, like the power to grant license to commercial bank, the power to cancel the license of commercial bank, and to frame all the rules and regulations relating to commercial banks, right? All these powers were given to Reserve Bank of India, so that since then Reserve Bank of India has become the bank to all banks, right? Since it's providing license to commercial banks, without having the license from Reserve Bank of India, no commercial banks can come up in the economy, right? And on some grounds, Reserve Bank of India can annul the license of those commercial banks even. And all the rules and regulations which are created by Reserve Bank of India have to be followed by commercial bank and cooperative banks. And these are the reasons we call Reserve Bank of India to be the bank of all banks, right? So 1949 is the point of time from where the banking system in our country began to run by the Reserve Bank of India as per some specified objectives in its mind, right? We wanted to make banks as the engine of social and economic progress, right? Banks do have the potential to transform the economy. Banks do have the money, है ना? Money belongs to people, but banks do have the license to provide those money to business classes or consumers in terms of credit, and credit is something that can transform the economy. So we wanted to make the banks in our country as the instruments of some social and economic progress, and for that reasons it was imperative that first we smoothly run the banks under the supervision of a central bank, which was brought under the direct control of Government of India in 1949. All these things we have discussed in the last class. Some more facts we'll discuss. They are not as important as what we had discussed in the last class, but yes, you must have the information about the institutions, like Reserve Bank of India, about which we are reading. Like you may be asked, who is the governor of Reserve Bank of India right now? Yes, Shaktikanta Das. He is an IAS officer, Shaktikanta Das, and right now he is the governor of Reserve Bank of India. right? Shaktikanta Das, and he is a 25th governor of Reserve Bank of India. Before him, we had at the helm of affairs Urjit Patel, and even before Urjit Patel, we had whom? We had Raghuram Rajan. So Raghuram Rajan was replaced by Urjit Patel, and Urjit Patel was later on replaced by the ongoing governor, that is Shaktikanta Das, right? We know that. But you know who was the first governor of Reserve Bank of India? The first governor of Reserve Bank of India was Sir Osborne Smith. First governor of Reserve Bank of India, Sir Osborne Smith. So when this bank was created in 1935, this was the person at the helm of affairs of Reserve Bank of India. The first thing. Second thing, who was the first governor of Reserve Bank of India in free India? India got freedom in 1947. So the questions can be, who was the first governor of Reserve Bank of India in free India, in independent India? So the first governor of Reserve Bank of India in free India was C.D. Deshmukh. C.D. Deshmukh. He was the first governor of Reserve Bank of India in free India. C.D. Deshmukh. Right? Later on, he became the finance minister of India even. First, he became the governor of Reserve Bank of India, just like Dr. Manmohan Singh. Manmohan Singh was also the governor of Reserve Bank of India, and later on he became the prime minister of this country in 2004, right? Even, sorry, he became first the finance minister, and then he became the prime minister of India, right? C.D. Deshmukh, he was the governor, and then later on he, became the finance minister of India, not the prime minister, finance minister of India, right? So this is the person who was at the helm of affairs of Reserve Bank of India in 1947, है ना? इन्होंने काम किया 1943 से लेकर 1949, you can see, है ना? He was the governor for 6 years of time, from 43 to 49. So you can see that when this country became free in 1947, C.D. Deshmukh was the person who was the governor of Reserve Bank of India, right? And one more credit goes to this person. This is the first Indian governor of Reserve Bank of India. So C.D. Deshmukh is the first governor of Reserve Bank of India in free India, right? C.D. Deshmukh is the first governor of Reserve Bank of India in free India, and he is the first Indian governor of RBI. Before him, we had two more governors. The first one was Sir Osborne Smith. Second was Sir James. And third was C.D. Deshmukh. You can see that Osborne Smith was from Australia. He was not from, our country. He was from Australia. He was from UK. James was from UK. And this person was from India. So he became the first Indian governor of Reserve Bank of India. Such questions, factual questions, not in the UPSC, but yes, in your PCS examinations may be asked, right? So you must, keep all the names in your mind when you read about the Reserve Bank of India. You got it? Right now we have the Shaktikant Das. He is the 25th governor of Reserve Bank of India. So this topic is almost completed. We have discussed the facts, important element of Reserve Bank of India, and then second topic that we'll discuss initially is the management of Reserve Bank of India, right? So the first topic today is management of RBI. Management of RBI. Management of RBI. When we talk of management of any institution, it has two different layers. Management has two different layers. The first layer of management is about making policies, taking all the vital decisions, है ना? It's all about management, है ना? Making decisions and policies. And second layer of management is about implementing those decisions and policies, right? Implementing them, you can say. So we know that if some decisions and policies are formulated, there are always some officers, staffs or employees to implement them, है ना? Like this is the institutions right now, Prospect IAS, and in these institutions even you find that there are two different layers of management, है ना? At the upper level we have the organ which make all the vital decisions, like who will take class, how many hours of classes has to be continued, right? All the rules and regulations are being formulated by that particular organ, right? And to implement them we have some staff, we have some employees, we may have some officers here, right? Even with Reserve Bank of India, we find these two different things. There are some organs which are responsible for making all the policies, all the vital decisions, and there are always some staff and employees to implement them, right? Here when we talk of management of Reserve Bank of India, we are not going to discuss the implementing agency of Reserve Bank of India, because we know that for implementing the policies we have always some officers, some staff, some employees. What is more important is to know the organ which make all the policies, the organ which make all the decisions, right? So here when we talk of management of Reserve Bank of India, that means we are trying to know which organ of Reserve Bank of India is responsible for making all the policies. Like we know that Reserve Bank of India prints money. We know that Reserve Bank of India prints money. So how much money has to be printed? How much should be in terms of 2000 rupees? How much should be in terms of 500 rupees? How much should be in terms of 10 rupees, right? So which organ make all these decisions? We have to find the organ which are taking all these important decisions. So in fact, Reserve Bank of India is managed by a central board of directors. This is the organ which is the most important. This organ, this is called central board of directors. Central board of directors is the organ which manages the affairs of Reserve Bank of India, which make all the vital decisions and make policies. In newspapers you hardly find this word central. They usually write it as board of directors. So this is the board of directors. In any company you find that the company is run by whom? The board of directors. There are some directors in the company who make all the vital decisions, all the important decisions, right? So Reserve Bank of India is not an exception. It is an institution which is run by board of directors, and this central board of directors which runs the affairs of Reserve Bank of India and make all the vital decisions consist of 21 members. It consists of how many members? 21 members. Now we'll see who are the members of central board of directors and how those members became the part of this central board of directors, whether they are appointed by the government of India or they are nominated by some other agencies. We'll learn all these things, right? So the first important director is called governor. Governor is the single most important director of central board of directors, right? And we have only one governor in Reserve Bank of India. He is the highest most authority in Reserve Bank of India, the most important person making all the policy decisions. So we have one governor, we have 4 deputy governors, 4 deputy governors. And then we have four more directors nominated by local boards of RBI. Local boards of RBI. Nominated by local boards of RBI. In fact, each one of them is nominated by local boards of RBI. In the last class, I told you that there are four local boards of RBI located in four different parts of India. Each one of them will nominate one director, and the director will be sent to the central board of directors, right? They become the part of the central board of directors. Are you getting my point? You're getting the point, no? Then we have 10 more directors. 10 more directors who are nominated by Government of India. 10 directors nominated by Government of India. And then we have 2 officers. 2 officers, and these officers are from the Ministry of Finance, right? From the Ministry of Finance, these officers. So 2 officers, and they also are nominated by Government of India. Nominated by Government of India, right? These officers will be from which ministry? Ministry of Finance, but they would be nominated by the Government of India. Now you count these numbers. When you count these numbers, it is 21 members, and they are the part of this central board of directors, right? So all the important decisions of central bank of this country, which is called Reserve Bank of India, are taken by these 21 members in unison, right? They take all the important decisions. The group is called the board of directors, right? So the board of directors decides every important financial and banking matters in our country, right? Now these directors can be classified in 2 different categories. Governor and deputy governors, they are called official directors of Reserve Bank of India, right? They are called official directors. They are official directors. And remaining directors are called unofficial directors. So in the official directors, we have governor and deputy governors, and these directors are considered to be the outsiders, right? They do not take too much interest in the internal affairs of Reserve Bank of India, right? They are nominated by the Government of India or the local boards of Reserve Bank of India, but they do not have much to say in the internal affairs of Reserve Bank of India, as we find in case of governor and deputy governors, right? So deputy governors and governors, they will be called official directors, and all these members, right, are called unofficial directors of Reserve Bank of India. So far as official directors are concerned, they are appointed by Government of India for a duration of 5 years, right? Official directors, governor and deputy governors, they are appointed by Government of India. Appointed by whom? Government of India. You have class at 5, na? You came in the last class? No, this is your first class? Okay, आप बैठ जाइए, यहाँ पे बैठ जाइए, बैठिए. So you have economics class na, right now going on, economics class, and this is the first chapter, Reserve Bank of India. Last point, 2 officers from Ministry of Finance nominated by Government of India. गवर्नमेंट नॉमिनेट तो करेगी, लेकिन वो ऑफिसर्स किस मंत्रालय से होंगे? वित्त मंत्रालय से, मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ फाइनेंस से होने चाहिए, ठीक है। तो दे आर अपॉइंटेड बाय गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया फॉर ए टेन्यूर ऑफ 5 years, है ना। बट 5 years को आप ऐसे लिखेंगे, 5 years 3+2, है ना। 3+2 in the sense that the first term of service is only for 3 years of time, right? And after 3 years of time, an extension of 2 years can be given by the government. If government is satisfied with the services, if government is happy with the services provided by this governor and deputy governors, then the government can, extend then their tenure by 2 more years. So the complete tenure is of 5 years. First 3 years, and then an extension of 2 years can be provided to them on the basis of the work they have provided to the government of India. Is that clear? समझ में आया आप लोगों को? Is that clear, everyone? आप लोग ऑनलाइन में जो बैठे हैं, other members of board of directors, you can see unofficial directors, they are not appointed by government of India. You can see that they are nominated either by the local boards of RBI or the government of India. These 4 directors are nominated by whom? The local boards of RBI. 4 local boards of RBI, each one of them will nominate 1 member to this central board of directors, and the government of India is also nominating this 10+2, 12 members to the central board of directors. So what is the difference between being appointed and being nominated? Here in this case, the difference is that for the sake of appointment, there has to be some specific rules and procedure that even the government has to follow, right? Like there could be some age criteria, there could be some educational criteria, there could be some experience criteria of experiences, right? So the government needs to take into considerations all these criteria before appointing somebody, right? So there are specific rules and procedure. The government will follow those rules and procedure. But when it is the time for nomination, it depends upon the sweet will of the government. If the government thinks that yes, you are the right person, whether you are junior or senior, you are male or female, you comes from the rural background or urban background, it makes no difference. You will be nominated. So nomination depends upon the willingness of the government, right? While for the sake of appointment, the government needs to follow some procedure, right? This is the difference, right? So these members are nominated for 4 years only. These members, right, are nominated for 4 years only, and we have seen that governor and deputy governors are nominated for 5 years, 3+2. Is that clear? इसमें कुछ नहीं है, इसमें मैं वही बता रहा हूँ ना, गवर्नमेंट के ऊपर डिपेंड करता है। जैसे आप लोग लोकसभा राज्यसभा का नॉमिनेशन को देखते हैं, उसमें कुछ क्राइटेरिया होता है ना, कि कुछ डिस्टिंग्विश सर्विस वो प्रोवाइड किया हो, ऐसा। यहाँ पे ऐसा कुछ नहीं है। यू मस्ट हैव द एक्सपीरियंस इन द फील्ड ऑफ बैंकिंग एंड फिनांस, है ना। इफ़ यू हैव द एक्सपोजर टू द वर्ल्ड ऑफ बैंकिंग एंड फिनांस, यू हैव बीन वर्किंग इन दिस फील्ड फॉर ए वेरी क्वाइट लॉन्ग टाइम, एंड यू हैव ए रिमार्केबल and outstanding credit to your name, then you can be nominated by the government, right? But for the sake of appointment, there are specific procedure rules, but here no specific rules and procedure have been laid down. This is the difference, okay? So just keep in your mind this important organ of Reserve Bank of India, which is responsible for all the important decisions of Central Bank of this country, right? Organ, Central Board of Directors. Now we'll discuss the topic that are more important from your examinations point of view. Till now we have discussed the basic fundamental things only about Reserve Bank of India, and all these are factual, and all these are very factual and basic. But now onwards we are going to discuss some more topics, and they are more important from your examinations point of view, right? So in that category, the first topic is the important functions of RBI. Please write it down. Important functions of RBI. Look, the functions of Reserve Bank of India is not different from the functions of all other central banks situated in other countries, right? More or less, their functions are similar. Whatever Reserve Bank of India does in our country, Federal Reserve does in America. People's Bank of China, which is the central bank of China, does in China, right? So the functions are similar. So the topic is important functions of the central bank, or more specifically the important functions of Reserve Bank of India, right? We'll discuss all these functions one by one. So the first one is that Reserve Bank of India prints paper notes for the economy of India, right? RBI prints paper notes. Paper notes. You know, paper notes, that means currency. Paper notes means here, no, only paper notes, because currency consists of both paper notes and coins. You know, when we talk of currency, it consists of both paper notes and coins. Here we are saying that Reserve Bank of India prints paper note for the economy of India so that they can be used as a medium of exchange, है ना? जो हमारे पास पेपर नोट्स है उसको कौन प्रिंट करती है? रिजर्व बैंक ऑफ इंडिया. So today we have the monetary system of exchange, and in this monetary system of exchange, money is used as a medium of exchange. Some money has to be used in the process of buying and selling the things, right? So when we sell something, money has to be used. When we buy something, money has to be used. It is called the monetary system of exchange. But in the very simple economy, at the very nascent stage of development of our economy, there is no money used in the system. In fact, we have the barter system of exchange at the very initial stage of development of our economy. When the economy remains very simple, population is very small, right? Country is very small. In those times, at the initial stage of development of the economy, we didn't have the money to be used as medium of exchange. Rather, there was barter system of exchange. है ना? In this barter system of exchange, what happens? In this barter system of exchange, there is C for C, commodity for commodity, right? There is commodity for commodity exchange. You may have some commodity that I require, and I may be in the possession of some commodity that you require. So there is possibility that we'll exchange our things. Let's suppose I am the owner of some wheat and you are the owner of some rice, right? I may require rice and you may require the wheat, and we'll exchange our things. I will give you my wheat and take you from what? Rice that you are having. Right? This is exchange of commodity for commodity. No money is used. Here no money is used. Rather, there is an exchange of one commodity for another commodity. Such a system of exchange is called barter system of exchange, which prevails in the economy at the very initial stage of development. When we have only a few numbers of people residing in the country, when the economy is very simple, very primitive, right? But as the economy begins to, it begins to grow and get compounded by lots of transactions taking place every day between lakhs of people, then some difficulties arise in the barter system of exchange. Barter system of exchange is not a practical way of exchanging things, right? Because let's suppose you have rice and I'm having the wheat, but what is the guarantee that the things that I require is the, I mean, you may not require the rice I'm having, or though I'm requiring your things, but you are not requiring my things. So exchange is not possible. Or you require my things, but I don't require your things. Exchange is not possible. Or there are some things that, like, we have a big animal, a cow or a horse or goat, right? And only 1 kilogram of rice is demanded by me. You are the owner of rice, but I'm having what? Horse, right? So for the sake of 1 kilogram of rice, I'm not going to the entire horse. The price of horse is going to be much higher as compared to the price of 1 kilogram of rice. In those situations, it becomes, practically difficult to conduct transactions. So later on, money was invented. Money is the biggest invention in this world, right? Money is the biggest invention, I would say, after fire. After fire, money is the biggest invention in the world, right? And now money is being used as a medium of exchange. Whenever we buy something or sell something, we use money, and that system of exchange in which money is used is called monetary system of exchange. So today we have the monetary system of exchange. In this system, some money has to be used. But now the question is, who will print the money? Who will print the money? Does that power vested with us? Does power of printing money is given to people of India? Do we have the power to print money or not? Do we have power to print money or not? Can you print money? No, yes, this power is not vested with us. अगर ये पावर हमारे पास होता, हम लोग यहाँ पे क्या करते यार? हम लोग घर में नोट प्रिंट कर रहे होते ना. हम लोग मनी के यूजर हैं, हम लोग मनी के प्रोड्यूसर नहीं हैं. वी आर नॉट द प्रोड्यूसर और सप्लायर ऑफ मनी, वी आर द यूजर ऑफ मनी. So who is the supplier or producer of money? So the power of printing money, especially the paper notes, has been given to whom? The Reserve Bank of India, right? The power of printing currency is given to the central bank of this country. It's not even with the government, it's with the central bank of this country. हाँ, मैं बताऊंगा उसको, अभी मैं बताऊंगा. अभी इसको समझिए. द पावर टू प्रिंट पेपर नोट्स रिमेन्स विथ होम? द सेंट्रल बैंक ऑफ दिस कंट्री. वी आर नॉट हैविंग दिस पावर, एंड दिस पावर हैज बीन given to Reserve Bank of India as per the section 22 of RBI Act 1934. है ना? मैंने आपको कल बताया था कि all the affairs of Reserve Bank of India is being conducted as per the provision of RBI Act 1934, right? So there is a section of RBI Act 1934 which is called section number 22 that empowers Reserve Bank of India to print paper notes for the economy, right? है ना? Please keep writing the important things that I am dictating, है ना? According to section 22 of RBI Act 1934, according to section 22 of RBI Act 1934, the power of printing paper notes remains with the central bank of this country. 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 Right? But indeed, indeed there are two institutions in the economy which are responsible for supply of money. It's not only Reserve Bank of India that prints money. There is one more institution which makes and prints money, and that other institution is Government of India, है ना? So one is Reserve Bank of India, the central bank of this country, and second institution which makes money for the users is the Government of India. But the Government of India prints only 1 rupee paper notes. Only 1 rupee paper notes are printed by Reserve Bank of India. All other paper notes from 2 rupees to 2000 rupees are printed by the RBI. The government of India prints only 1 rupee paper notes. All other notes are printed by Reserve Bank of India, and that is why you find the signature of RBI's governor on all these notes from 2 rupees to 2000 rupees. But you do not find the signature of RBI's governor on 1 rupee note, है ना? Right? So this 1 rupee paper note bear the signature of whom? This is printed by Government of India. But which ministry is responsible for making all these decisions? Ministry of Finance, है ना? Ministry of Finance. And who is the highest most, officer of Ministry of Finance? This is called Ministry of Finance. Who is the highest most officer of Ministry of Finance? Yeah, Finance Secretary. So 1 rupee paper note bear the signature of Finance Secretary, है ना? इस पे Finance Secretary का signature रहेगा. Finance सेक्रेटरी का सिग्नेचर रहेगा 1 rupee पेपर नोट्स पे, while all other notes bear the signature of governor of Reserve Bank of India. This is the first difference. Second one is that जितने भी आप सिक्के देखते हैं, all the coins, है ना, जितने भी coins होंगे, coins को भी मिंट करने का काम गवर्नमेंट करती है ना? जितने भी सिक्के हैं उनको मिंट कौन करती है? गवर्नमेंट. You print paper notes but you mint what? Coins, है ना? You do not print coins, you mint them, है ना? आप उसको mint करते हैं. Minting metal है ना? We make the coins from what? Metal से बनाते हैं. Metal को क्या किया जाता है? उसको print नहीं किया जाता, उसको mint किया जाता है. एक आकार दिया जाता है, गलाया जाता है. समझ रहे हो कि नहीं आप लोग, है ना? आकार दिया जाएगा, उसको minting करना कहते हैं ना. So we have some taksal on by the government of India in different places, and in those taksal or printing press, है ना, this 1 rupee paper note can be printed by government of India and all the coins are minted. Like we have taksal in Noida, we have taksal in Hosangabad, which is situated in Madhya Pradesh. One more is there in Solan. In Hyderabad is also there is one printing agency owned by the government of India, right? So there are some 7 or maybe there could be, I'm not aware of that. In fact, I have forgotten the name all these printing units owned by the government, but there are 4 to 5 printing taksal hai which are owned by government, where 1 rupee paper note and all the coins can be minted, hai na? 1 rupee paper note nowadays are not that much in use, but still it is a valid currency, hai na? It's a valid currency. You cannot refuse to accept this 1 rupee paper note, though they are not so much in use. But जब हम लोग छोटे थे तो आपको याद होगा, है ना, कि we used to have this currency much in circulation, but nowadays we do not find 1 rupee paper note, but still it is a valid currency, legal tender money. The government of India can print it. It's not in the prerogative of Reserve Bank of India. It is in the domain of the government of India, right? So this is the first thing. We have 2 suppliers of money. We have 2 producers of money. One is Reserve Bank of India, second one is Government of India, and we all are users of money. हम लोग use करते हैं. We use money as a medium of exchange, right? Second thing is that you can see that Reserve Bank of India right now is printing maximum 2000 rupees of paper note, है ना? The maximum value of paper note that is printed by Reserve Bank of India today is 2000 rupees. But RBI Act 1934 empowers Reserve Bank of India to print up to 10,000 rupees, right? So this is the difference. Right now though, this is printing the maximum 2000 rupees paper notes, but RBI Act 1934, please write it down. RBI Act 1934 empowers Reserve Bank of India to print up to 10,000 rupees paper notes. 10,000 rupees paper notes. And this power had already been exercised by the Reserve Bank of India. In fact, we had Like today we have the currency of 2000 rupees, right? So in 1950s and 60s, we had the currency of even 5000 rupees. We had the paper notes of 5000 rupees. It was in circulation. Even we had the currency of 10,000 rupees. Just like the way we have the currency of 2000 today, we had the currency of 5000 and even of 10,000 rupees. RBI cannot print more than 10,000 rupees in paper form, right? So if this has to be changed, first we'll have to bring about amendment in our RBI Act 1934. Then only we can enhance the limit by which Reserve Bank of India can print money, right? As of now, RBI can print the maximum of 10,000 rupees, right? But these two currencies that used to, prevail in the economy were withdrawn from the economy through the process of demonetization. Like last time when this happened in 2016, we withdraw what? 500 rupees currency and 1000 currencies, right? So there was demonetizations even in the past. Like we had demonetizations in 1978 also, 66 also, right? So these two currencies were withdrawn by the government, and after that currencies were never printed. But RBI Act gives the Reserve Bank of India the power to print up to 10,000 rupees paper notes. Is that clear? Is that clear for everyone, those sitting across through online classes? If you have some doubts in your mind, you can just send your questions. There is no problem at all. Very good. Now we'll see the system by which RBI prints money. Now we'll discuss the system by which RBI prints money, whether RBI needs to follow some procedure or not for printing the currency. Yes. So that depends. That depends. No, in fact, the value of currencies which are printed by Reserve Bank of India depends upon the nature of transactions that are taking place in our country, right? India is a very diverse country, socially, culturally, as well as economically, right? We have the transactions of different values. If you go to the rural belt of India, you find the value of even 1 rupee and 2 rupees, right? Here in Delhi, you don't have the value of 1 rupee and 2 rupees. So you don't find their uses in urban areas, right? So in urban areas, circulation of money whose value is smaller, like 2 rupees or 3 rupees or 5 rupees, is very small, very less. But in those, Eastern India or the rural belt, you find that these currencies are still being used. They are in circulation, right? So all the different values of currencies are being printed by Reserve Bank of India, keeping the requirement of different group of people, right? So if we print just the higher value notes, that makes transactions difficult for the poor people, right? Poor people cannot make the use of 2000 rupees in the process of transactions. They require 5 rupees paper notes. They require 2 rupees paper notes. Are you getting my point? Right? And that is why the government and the Reserve Bank of India is printing the notes of different denominations, keeping the requirement of people in different parts of our country. These things are being decided. Yeah, 86% was, I will discuss that one. I will discuss that one. Hmm. Hmm. तो यही कारण था ना, 5000 और 10,000 रुपीज को हमने बाहर क्यों निकाला? क्योंकि इसका यूज कम होता था। ब्लैक मनी लोग इसमें ज्यादा रखते थे, समझ रहे हो कि नहीं? ब्लैक मनी ज्यादा रखते थे लोग, उसका ट्रांजेक्शन्स में कम प्रयोग होता था। Even nowadays you see that you don't hardly you hardly find the circulation of 2000 rupees as you find in case of 500 rupees or 100 rupees, right? क्योंकि लोग इसको अपने पास बड़े हायर वैल्यू के नोट्स को अपने पास रख लेते हैं, है ना। जगह कम चाहिए, इसको रखने के लिए जगह कम चाहिए, है ना, तो आप उसे स्टोर करके रख लेते हो, तो प्रैक्टिकल यूज उसका खत्म हो जाता है ना। तो गवर्नमेंट और रिजर्व बैंक ऑफ इंडिया हैज़ टू कंसिडर द रिक्वायरमेंट, द एक्चुअल practical uses of those currencies, right? And that is why these currencies are printed on the basis of the ratio of transactions of different values taking place in our country, है ना। वो रेशियो देखती है कि कितना इतना रुपए का, कितना इतना रुपए का वो ट्रांजेक्शन्स हो सकता है ना ये। So the second thing that I'm going to discuss here in this topic is that the system by which Reserve Bank of India prints money. We have seen that RBI do have the power to print currency for the economy of India, right? But now we'll see whether Reserve Bank of India will have to follow some rules or not for printing the currency. What is the process? What is the procedure by which Reserve Bank of India prints money, right? So please write it down. The system by which RBI prints money is called, the system by which RBI prints money is called MRS, Minimum Reserve System. This is called Minimum Reserve System, MRS. Yes, exactly. This is the point that I am going to discuss. That Reserve Bank of India needs to have some minimum reserve with it to print the money, and that is why this is called minimum reserve system. It came into force in 1957, है ना? This system came into force in 1957. So since 1957, Reserve Bank of India has been, following this process or system to print the money, right? And what is this system all about? What this system asks Reserve Bank of India to do? So according to this system, RBI is required to have a minimum reserve of assets worth 200 crore rupees for printing currency, right? This requires Reserve Bank of India to have a minimum assets of worth how much? 200 crore rupees to print new currency, out of which 115 crore assets must be in terms of gold, and remaining 85 crore assets must be in terms of foreign currency. So if RBI wants to print money, it must have two different kinds of assets. First in terms of gold, and second in terms of foreign exchange, right? And their minimum value must be 115 crore in terms of gold and 85 crore in terms of foreign exchange, right? So this is the system that directs Reserve Bank of India that you must have a minimum of assets worth 200 crore rupees all the time if you want to print money. Is the point clear? The implication of this system, 115 crore must be in terms of gold, and 85 crore must be in terms of foreign exchange or foreign currency, right? So the implication of this system is that if at any point of time RBI is not having this much of assets, then RBI is going to lose its power to print new currency, है ना? RBI को maintain करना ही होगा. If it wants to print currency for the economy, RBI has to ensure that it's having assets worth 200 crore rupees all the time. इससे ज़्यादा है तो चलेगा, इससे कम है तो नहीं चलेगा, है ना? तो implications यही हो रहा कि if you are not having this much of assets with you, then you lose the power of printing new currency. In fact, there are two important departments of Reserve Bank of India concerned with the printing of new currency. One department is called Banking Department. This is the Banking Department of RBI. Banking Department of RBI. And one more department is called Issue Department. This is the Issue Department of RBI, which issue all the paper notes, which prints and issue all the paper notes, right? But Issue Department has to take the permission from Banking Department. Banking department gives the permission to issue department only when it finds that Reserve Bank of India is having at least assets worth 200 crore rupees. But if on inspection it has been found that Reserve Bank of India is not maintaining this minimum assets worth 200 crore rupees, then no permission would be granted on that day to print new currency. Right? आगे समझ में आप लोग को? So even Reserve Bank of India has to follow some rule for printing the currency. But yes, once Reserve Bank of India do have this minimum assets of 200 crore rupees, it can print as much currency as it wants. There is no upper limit. There is no upper limit given to Reserve Bank of India as to the printing of currency. Right? After having this much of assets, it can print as much as it wants. Then you will ask, sir, why not Reserve Bank of India printing so much money and distribute them among the people of India so that we can eradicate poverty from our society? है ना? क्यों नहीं नोट बांट कर हम लोग? We are poor people. Why? Because we are lacking purchasing power. हमारे पास पैसे नहीं है, है ना? So why not Reserve Bank of India prints money in colossal amount and distribute them among the poor people of India so that pauperism and poverty can be eliminated. You cannot remove, poverty that way. ठीक है. Yes, we have some answers from these online students. One of them is saying that yes, sir, we'll have inflation as a result of printing too much currency in the economy. But what is important to understand is how inflation will take place when Reserve Bank of India prints colossal amount of money. How this will translate into inflation? That is what I am going to explain to you. है ना? हम लोग गरीबी को उस तरीके से खत्म नहीं कर सकते हैं. देखो क्या होगा अगर रिजर्व बैंक ऑफ इंडिया बहुत ज्यादा नोट्स को प्रिंट करके हम लोगों को बीच में बांट देती है ना? तो क्या होगा? हम लोगों के पास पैसे आ जाएंगे. विल हैव द परचेजिंग पावर, है ना? विल हैव द परचेजिंग पावर एंड वी ऑल विल स्टार्ट making demand for goods and services to fulfill our needs, है ना? Some will go to the market to buy refrigerators, some will purchase AC, some will purchase cars, some will construct the houses for them, right? And that's going to suddenly increase aggregate demand for goods and services, है ना? Since people do have sufficient amount of money with them coming from the Reserve Bank of India, they will mindlessly spend them in order to purchase things they require, right? And this is going to augment aggregate demand. This is going to augment aggregate demand. Demand जो है goods and services की क्या हो जाएगी? बढ़ जाएगी. But what about supply of goods and services? You will find that supply will come down. It will not remain constant. Production of goods and services will come down once money is distributed free of cost. है ना? So you have the money, you went to the market to have some golgappa with your friends. है ना? We like golgappa. Everyone, है ना? So since we have money, Reserve Bank of India has given money to all of us. We'll go to the market to have golgappa with our friends. But we will not find golgappa wala there. Why? Because even that person has got the money from Reserve Bank of India. He will not feel the requirement of doing work. है ना? You will get disappointed. You have the money, but there is no golgappa wala. There is only one golgappa wala, and several people have been thrown there to purchase the golgappa. He will increase the price of golgappa, right? Next day you come to the class to have the class of economics to gain the knowledge on economics. You you won't find your teacher on the podium, है ना? आप अपने टीचर को पोडियम पे पाएंगे नहीं. Why I will come here? When I get money from Reserve Bank of India without doing any work, why I will take the hassle to come to the classroom? No. So what you find, the production of goods and services has come down while demand has gone up significantly. So this will go up, this will come down. So there is mismatch. Demand is more than supply. So when demand becomes more than supply, you'll find that there is inflationary pressure on the available goods and services. Prices of all the available goods and services will skyrocket, है ना? They will skyrocket. Will have the inflation, and once we have inflation in the economy, the worst thing is that it's going to reduce the purchasing power of our money that we have got from the Reserve Bank of India. So you remain as poor as you were, है ना? The worst part of inflation is what? It reduces the purchasing power of your money. I give you the simple example how it reduces the purchasing power. Let's suppose you have 100 rupees with you, 100 rupees, and you put this money to the purchase of a particular commodity, X commodity. Price of X is 10 rupees per unit. 10 rupees per unit. So with this 100 rupees, how many units you can purchase? 10 units you can purchase, 10 units, right? So that fulfills your requirement, 10 units. You're satisfied with the 10 units you are consuming. Right? Now let's suppose there is inflation in the economy and the price of this particular commodity has increased from 10 rupees to 20 rupees now. Now with this 100 rupees, how many units you can purchase? 5 units. You can see that the purchasing power of this 100 rupees has become smaller. Right? Initially this 100 rupees was capable of purchasing 10 units for you. Now it's giving you only 5 units, and when there is further inflation, price increases to 100 rupees per unit, then you find that the value of this money has got reduced to only 1 unit. So as we have inflation in the economy, we find that there is complete erosion of purchasing power of our money. So even though we have lakhs of rupees with us that has come to us from Reserve Bank of India, but we find that even lakhs of rupees is not capable of purchasing the things that we were purchasing previously. So there is no use of having money. It's not the nominal value, it is the real value of money that matters. Real value means how much units of goods and services a particular unit of money can purchase, right? So inflation must be stable. It must be at a lower territory if we want our real value of money to remain stable. आगे समझ में? And that is the reasons precisely Reserve Bank of India do not print money mindlessly to eradicate poverty from our society. है ना? Poverty को दूर करने का तरीका क्या है? Employment, है ना? Employment से ही हम लोग poverty को दूर कर सकते हैं, क्योंकि employment जब होता है ना तो दोनों चीज होता है. दोनों देखो क्या होगा, जब लोगों को employment मिलता है ना तो उनको इनकम मिलता है. इनकम बिकम्स द सोर्स ऑफ डिमांड. इनकम इज द सोर्स ऑफ डिमांड. सो once you have the income, you will start demanding goods and services. Aggregate demand will increase. But simultaneously, since people are involved, they are producing goods and services. So there is going to be no dearth of goods and services. Aggregate supply will remain intact. Since people have been in employment, they are producing goods and services. So there is no paucity of goods and services in the economy. Price will remain stable. You have demand, you have supply also, right? So increased demand will counterbalance the increased supply. Price will remain stable. So this is the way we have to remove poverty from our society. है ना? आगे समझ में आप लोग को? तो ये पॉइंट मैंने आप लोग को बताया. बट नाउ द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग दैट आई विल डिस्कस इज why this is mandatory for Reserve Bank of India. है ना? Here RBI is being asked that first you keep assets worth 200 crore rupees, then I will give you the power to print money. Otherwise you lose this power. So why this is compulsory? Why this mandatory for Reserve Bank of India? What is the rationale behind this system? That is what I am going to discuss. है ना? इस सिस्टम का रैशनल क्या है ये हम यहाँ पे डिस्कस करेंगे. Yes, in case of Zimbabwe in Africa, the example is here, right? So this is the observation coming from Manjot. Manjot is saying, sir, there could be hyperinflation in the economy. Yes, there could be hyperinflation like Sri Lanka is dealing right now. है ना? Prices of every article in Sri Lanka has skyrocketed. We had the several cases of hyperinflation that I will discuss in detail once we start the chapter on inflation, right? So now we'll see the rationale behind this system, which is called minimum reserve system. Why this is mandatory for Reserve Bank of India to have this much of assets? So the simple reason is that when you look at the balance sheet of Reserve Bank of India, Reserve Bank of India is less like any other company. It's a company. It's a unit, है ना? So look at the balance sheet of Reserve Bank of India. On the one hand, we have the assets of RBI. On the other hand, we have the liabilities of RBI. You know difference difference between assets and liabilities? Okay, that gives you, yes, yes. Okay, in fact, liabilities means your obligation, है ना? It's your obligations. It can be in terms of dates or loan that you avail from somebody or some institutions, है ना? Like we take loan from banks, that becomes our liability because we have to repay it, है ना? We have to repay it. It becomes our liability, है ना? So basically, this means, you know, financial obligations that we have as a result of availing the loans from different persons or different institutions. Assets are those part of your wealth that gives you some income. Like when I say that I'm the owner of this building, so this is my assets, as it gives me some, you know, fixed income every month. But assets can be in terms of various things. It can be in terms of cash. It can be in terms of buildings. It can be in terms of share and bonds. It can be in terms of gold. It can be in terms of any other things, right? So these are the things on which you are dependent. And using these things, you can fulfill your obligations or liabilities. Like if you take the loan from Reserve Bank, if you take the loan from the banking system, you must have some assets so that you have no difficulty in repaying your loan or obligations. समझ रहे कि नहीं? If you have the liability without having any assets, will that be sustainable? No, है ना? आपने लोन ले लिया है लेकिन you have no assets. आप लोन को कैसे रिपे करेंगे? अपना लाइबिलिटीज को कैसे आप यहाँ पे फुलफिल करेंगे? यू विल हैव द डिफिकल्टी, है ना? सो लाइबिलिटीज के अगेंस्ट में बैकअप में आपका क्या होना चाहिए? कुछ एसेट्स तो होना ही चाहिए भाई, होना चाहिए. हाँ, और क्या? एसेट्स नहीं है इसका मतलब है आप लोन को रिपे नहीं कर पाएंगे. एसेट्स होना ही चाहिए, ठीक है? अब from the point of view of the central bank of this country, we'll see what consists of liabilities of Reserve Bank of India. So basically the liabilities of Reserve Bank of India is the printing of new currency, है ना? Printing of currency is the liability of RBI. Every time Reserve Bank of India prints money for the economy, it increases its liability, है ना? Every time it prints money, let's suppose today RBI prints, you know, 2000 rupees. So today Reserve Bank of India has increased its liability by 2000 rupees. As of now, Reserve Bank of India has printed 27 lakh crore rupees. As of now, है ना? As of now, Reserve Bank of India has printed 27 lakh crore rupees. So this is the total liability on Reserve Bank of India on account of printing new currency. But how that liability get reflected? How can we say that printing of currency is the liability of Reserve Bank of India? Do we have some proof? Do we have some proof that says that, you know, printing of currency is Reserve Bank of India's liability? Yes, we do have the solid proof, है ना? You may have seen the currency printed by Reserve Bank of India. Look here, है ना? This is the currency printed by Reserve Bank of India, right? And on this currency you find a bizarre kind of promise, है ना? यहाँ पे Reserve Bank of India ने promise दिया है. I promise to pay the bearer the sum of 500 rupees. This is 500 rupees. यहाँ पे एक प्रॉमिस लिखा हुआ है. प्रॉमिस पे कह रहा है कि मैं धारक को 500 रुपए अदा करने का वचन देता हूँ. I promise to pay the bearer the sum of 500 rupees. And this very promise reflects that printing of currency is the liability of Reserve Bank of India. Promise किया जा रहा कि don't worry about the piece of paper that you are having. Whenever you come to me with this piece of paper, I am obliged to give you the equal value printed on this paper notes. है ना? Make sure, have trust on this paper note. Have trust on its value. If you come to me, I am obliged to give you an equal value printed on this paper note. Right? And this is the precise reason this has become the money. Otherwise, send this promise. Without this promise, this become useless. Will you accept this if there is no promise on it? No. You know, this very promise printed on paper notes makes this legal tender money, backed by the Reserve Bank of India and the Government of India. Without this promise, this is not money. So this promise has two significance. The first significance is that the promise make this piece of paper the legal tender money. We start accepting this as a medium of exchange. This is the first significance. Second significance is that this promise, this promise says that printing of currency is going to be the liability of Reserve Bank of India, as the central bank of this country giving you the promise कि whenever you come to me with this piece of paper, I am obliged to give you the equal value printed on this paper note. And this is not mere promise. RBI has to fulfill it. And we have seen in the recent past that Reserve Bank of India has fulfilled this promise. I give you the example. है ना? देखो, in 2016 we had what? Demonetization of 500 and 1000 paper notes, right? They were withdrawn by the government from the system, saying that now this is not going to be valid, you cannot use them in the process of exchange. But did that mean that our hard earned money got wasted? क्या उसका मतलब ये हुआ कि हमारे मेहनत से कमाए पैसे खराब हो गए? नहीं, क्योंकि even on these 500 and 1000 currencies, Reserve Bank of India had given the promise, right? कि when you come to me, I will give you the equal value. And that is why the government of India asked the people that you just return this money to Reserve Bank of India through banking system. This will not be used as a medium of exchange henceforth. So you have to return this money to Reserve Bank of India. So we people of India had around 16 lakh crore rupees in terms of 500 and 1000, which was 86% of total currency in circulation. है ना? 86% of total currency in circulation was in terms of 500 and 1000 currency, which are going to be what? Useless. So we were asked to return this money to Reserve Bank of India. We did so. We kept our money with the bank so that they can be given to Reserve Bank of India. ठीक है? RBI को हमने 16 लाख करोड़ रुपए दे दिए. क्या RBI ने अपना प्रॉमिस पूरा किया कि नहीं? क्या RBI ने आपको इक्वल वैल्यू दिया या नहीं? दिया या नहीं रिजर्व बैंक? Yes, RBI printed valid currencies, some more currencies, in order to give it back to the people from where the money has come, right? So Reserve Bank of India fulfilled this promise, and that inspire confidence among the people on our banking system, on the institutions which are running this country. Without having the confidence on the institutions, the country is going to collapse. है ना? So people trust and confidence is essential for running the economy, for running the polity. ठीक है? आगे समझ में आप लोग को? So my point is that when printing of currency becomes the liability of Reserve Bank of India, obviously Reserve Bank of India must have some assets, so that RBI do not have the worry about fulfilling its obligations when the needs arises, like it arose in 2016. So since in 2016 Reserve Bank of India did have 200 crore worth of assets, right? it had no difficulty printing new currency and give them back to the people of India. But let us assume that Reserve Bank of India didn't have this much. मानो कि रिजर्व बैंक ऑफ इंडिया के पास ये एसेट्स नहीं होता. Could Reserve Bank of India print new money? Could Reserve Bank of India print new money? No. Nor it would be able to give money back to the people of India. And that would have broken the trust of people on this institution. The entire system would have collapsed. But हम लोग जानते हैं कि आरबीआई के पास 200 करोड़ रुपए का एसेट्स था that allows Reserve Bank of India against them to print as much currency as it wants. So RBI printed money, all 16 lakh crore rupees were printed in new currencies, and after 3 or 4 months of time, people started, withdrawing them from the banking system. Right? But now you'll ask me, sir, liability of Reserve Bank of India is 27 lakh crore rupees. This is what amount Reserve Bank of India has printed as of now, right? But assets is only 200 crore rupees. So there is a big mismatch. Liabilities of RBI is far bigger than the assets of RBI. You can see the minimum assets RBI is being asked to maintain is 200 crore rupees, but its liabilities are manifold. Still there is no problem. Why? Because on the basis of this much of assets only, any amount of money can be printed. And any amount of obligations can be fulfilled. Like RBI were required to give back the people of India 16 lakh crore rupees in 2016. So it could have printed that much of money on the basis of a meager sum of 200 crore worth of assets. So even though assets could be much lower as compared to the liability, Reserve Bank of India has nothing to worry at all when it is the time to fulfill the obligations. But when Reserve Bank of India make this promise on this paper note, it implies two different things. It's going to make this currency the legal tender money. You cannot refuse to accept this money. And secondly, it reflects that printing of currency is the liability of Reserve Bank of India. So this is the rationale RBI has been asked to maintain 200 crore worth of assets so that it has no difficulty at all fulfilling its liability or obligations. Is that clear? So 200 करोड़ रुपए. अच्छा, सो मैंने आपको बताया कि 200 करोड़ रुपए के पेपर नोट्स को 200 करोड़ रुपए के एसेट्स के रखने के बाद जितना नोट को प्रिंट करना चाहे कर सकता है ना, कर सकता है. लेकिन आरबीआई ऐसा नहीं करती है. हाँ, वही तो, इन द फियर ऑफ इन्फ्लेशन, एंड अदर एडवर्स ramification of printing new currency, Reserve Bank of India is not doing so, है ना. But RBI do print some money every year. So on what factor Reserve Bank of India decide how much has to be printed? Right? Yes, it's not printing colossal amount of money in a mindless manner. But every year Reserve Bank of India prints some amount of money. So my question and discussion is on what factor this decision is taken by the Reserve Bank of India. Ki how much money has to be printed, whether we have to print 1000 crore rupees or we have to print 2000 crore rupees, right? On what factor the size of currency that Reserve Bank of India is going to print is to be decided. That is what I am going to discuss in the next topic, है ना. So let me discuss this one, and after that I will start taking your questions. So I will make this point clear to all of you using a simple example, है ना. So in this example you will find the factor that guides Reserve Bank of India as to how much money it has to print for the economy. So RBI always prints money as per the requirement of the economy. But how we make the assessment of requirement, whether the requirement of 1000 crore or 10,000 crore or 5,000 crore rupees, how we are going to make the assessment of that requirement, right? So I'm giving you the example. Let's suppose last year in 2021, we produced 100 more units of commodity in our country. 100 more units of commodity in our country we produced in 2021. हम जितना प्रोड्यूस करते थे उससे और 100 यूनिट्स को हमने ज्यादा प्रोड्यूस किया लास्ट ईयर, राइट? सो दिस इज द एडिशनल क्वांटिटी दैट वी प्रोड्यूस्ड लास्ट ईयर, एंड द प्राइस ऑफ पर यूनिट इज 7 रुपीज. 7 रुपीज इज द प्राइस ऑफ पर यूनिट. अब आप मुझे बताइए कि हाउ मच मनी पीपल ऑफ इंडिया रिक्वायर to purchase all the new units that we have produced. 700 rupees, है ना? So this is the requirement of economy. Economy needs exactly 700 rupees at this point of time, है ना? Economy needs 700 rupees more to ensure that all the things being produced in the economy get disposed of. और 700 रुपए चाहिए, है कि नहीं? What is this 700 rupees? This 700 rupees is the market value of all the things that we have produced, isn't it? 700 rupees is the market value of all the articles that we have produced. Technically, this is called our GDP. है ना? इसे हम लोग क्या कहते हैं? हमारा ये GDP है. GDP को आप ऐसे ही डिफाइन करते हैं ना? ये जितना हम प्रोड्यूस करते हैं उसका मार्केट वैल्यू को जीडीपी कहा जाता है ना? हाँ, जितना हम प्रोड्यूस करते हैं उसके मार्केट प्राइस को, उसके मार्केट वैल्यू को हम जीडीपी कहते हैं. ठीक है? तो यहां पे एडिशनल जीडीपी देखो, इंक्रीमेंटल जीडीपी इसको कहते हैं या एडिशनल जीडीपी कहते हैं. हाउ मच इज दैट? दैट इज 700 रुपीज. So this is precisely on the basis of our incremental GDP, RBI, RBI decides about the quantity of money it's going to print. Here in this example, in 2021, Reserve Bank of India will print 700 rupees only, just equal to the size of our incremental GDP. है ना? Because this is the requirement of money for the economy this year. We have produced 100 more units. For their disposal, the people of India require 700 rupees, price being 7 rupees per unit, right? So this becomes the requirement of new currency. RBI must be printing this much, right? So RBI make the decision about the size of money it should print on the basis of our incremental GDP. आगे समझ में? It should print neither more than that nor less than that. If it prints more than or less than that money, there could be some problem. For example, if RBI prints, let's suppose 900 rupees, then what result could be there for the economy? What adverse result could be for the economy? There would be inflation. Right? Since people will have now 900 rupees, once RBI prints money, eventually this will come into the hands of people of India, right? So they will have 900 rupees additionally in their hands. So aggregate demand will increase by 900 rupees, while aggregate supply of goods and services is only worth 700 rupees. You can see that this year additional quantity of goods and services has been produced worth 700 only. So demand is of 900, supply is of 700. Supply is less than demand. It's going to increase inflation in the economy. So if money is printed more than the size of GDP, है ना? That means there are too much money but less number of goods and services. यही हो रहा ना? There are too much money but less number of goods and services. Obviously, this is going to be inflationary. On the other hand, if RBI prints less than the incremental GDP, here in this example, incremental GDP is 700 rupees. Let's suppose RBI prints only 300 rupees. So people will have 300 rupees additionally with them. they will purchase goods worth 300 rupees. Aggregate demand would be worth 300 rupees only, while supply is that of 700 rupees. Supply of goods is worth 700 rupees. So supply is going to be, crossing over the demand. Supply is more than demand. And when supply becomes more than demand, there is problem of unsold inventory. People will buy the things worth 300 only. Goods worth 400 rupees will remain unsold. Are you getting my point? Goods worth 400 rupees will remain unsold. And once we have the inventory of unsold commodity, will the producers of our economy like to produce more? Because they have the inventory of unsold goods, they will not fill the requirement of producing additional units of commodity. So they will not hire the labor force. On the contrary, they will retrench the labor from the factory. कि यार सामान बिक्री नहीं हो पाया, you can see that we have the inventory of unsold commodity. So please go away. We'll call you back later on. है ना? We'll have the problem of what? New workers are not being hired. Existing workers are being, thrown away from the factory. This leads to the problem of unemployment, right? So Reserve Bank of India has to respect what? It has to respect the size of incremental GDP while printing the currency. It must be in accordance with the incremental GDP that Reserve Bank of India decide how much to print money. Is that clear? आ गया सारा पॉइंट्स आप लोग को समझ में? Yes, now you can ask the question. You guys sitting across online, is the point clear that I have made here? Is the point clear, or do you have any doubt? Then you can send your question. So this was the first important functions of Reserve Bank of India. Some more we'll discuss in this class. The second one is that Reserve Bank of India is the bank to all banks. RBI is the bank to all banks. RBI is the bank to all banks. It is a bank to all banks. We have some commercial banks, we have some cooperative bank, RRBs. We have, different kinds of banks in our economy. And of all those banks, Reserve Bank of India is the highest or the apex bank, right? So why Reserve Bank of India is called bank to all banks? Obviously because Reserve Bank of India must be giving banking services to those banks. Like we are getting banking services from our commercial banks. Right? In banking facility or services, there are two kinds of services or facility. First, that of deposit, and second, that of loan, right? So we are getting these services or facilities from commercial banks, so commercial bank is our bank. Likewise, Reserve Bank of India gives banking services to all banks. Like we have the State Bank of India, we have the ICICI Bank, HDFC Bank, all other banks. These banks are getting the banking facilities from Reserve Bank of India. If these banks have to deposit money, they have the account with Reserve Bank of India, right? And eventually when they fail to raise money for themselves, they can go to Reserve Bank of India to take the loan. So RBI is giving them both the facilities, that of deposit as well as of loan, right? Reserve Bank of India, that is why it's called lender of what? Lender of last resort. RBI is called lender of last resort. What does that mean? RBI is the lender of last resort. It means that if commercial banks fail to, raise resources for themselves, eventually it will go to whom? The RBI, and can avail the loan. है ना? ये लास्ट रिजॉर्ट का उसके पास, ये लास्ट उपाय है उनके पास, है ना? इसलिए हम इसको कहते हैं लैंडर ऑफ लास्ट रिजॉर्ट, है ना? सो यहाँ पे मैं आपके सामने कुछ रीजंस आपको प्रोवाइड कर रहा हूँ कि व्हाई आरबीआई इज कॉल्ड बैंक टू ऑल बैंक्स. द फर्स्ट रीजन इज दैट The RBI gives banking facilities to all banks. Please write it down. Fourth reason is that RBI gives banking facilities to all banks. This is the first reason. Why else? Why else? Because RBI gives license to commercial banks. है ना? RBI grants license to commercial bank. This is the second reason we consider RBI to be the bank to all banks. है ना? Yes, every bank, whether they are private or public sector banks, all of them require the license from Reserve Bank of India. Like just, I mean, 8 year backs in 2014, two new banks had been established in our country in private sector, Bandhan Bank and IDFC. They had to obtain the license from Reserve Bank of India. Without having the license from RBI, no bank can come up in the economy. इतना याद रखना, है ना? ये भी एक कारण है जिसकी वजह से हम आरबीआई को सभी बैंकों का बैंक कहते हैं. और सिर्फ लाइसेंस नहीं दे सकता. थर्ड रीजन आप लिख सकते हैं कि आरबीआई कैन कैंसल द लाइसेंस ऑफ कमर्शियल बैंक ऑल्सो, है ना? आरबीआई कमर्शियल बैंक के लाइसेंस को कैंसिल भी कर सकती है. दिस इज ऑल्सो द रीजन वी कंसिडर इट टू बी द बैंक टू ऑल बैंक्स. And one more strong reason is that RBI frames rules and procedure for RBI frames or makes, है ना? RBI frames rules and procedure for entire banking system. RBI frames rules and procedure for entire banking system that all banks need to comply with. That all banks need to comply with. That all banks need to follow लिख दो, है ना? That all banks need to follow or comply with, कुछ भी लिख सकते हैं. You got this point? It is the Reserve Bank of India which set the rules for the game, है ना? It is the Reserve Bank of India which make rules and procedure for the entire banking system, and banks are simply supposed to abide by them. So these are the reasons we consider Reserve Bank of India to be the bank to all banks, right? What else? Third important functions is that Reserve Bank of India is banker, agent and advisor to government. Advisor to government. Reserve Bank of India is banker, agent and advisor to government. So you can see that here to the government, RBI work in three different capacities, है ना? It work as a banker to the government, whether it is the central government, the state government, to both, and it work as agent to the government, and finally it works as advisor to the government. And these functions of Reserve Bank of India as banker, agent and advisor are quite distinct from each other. Now you have to know what exactly Reserve Bank of India does as a banker to the government, what it does as an agent to the government, and what it does as an advisor to the government. That's what I'm going to convey. We'll see what exactly Reserve Bank of India does as a banker. Please write it down. As a banker to government. Please write it down. As a banker to government. So if I say that RBI is the bank to the government, that means government must be getting the banking facilities from Reserve Bank of India that we are getting from the commercial banks, है ना? है ना? So as a banker, RBI provides, लिखिए, as a banker RBI provides, first लिखो, है ना? First point लिखिए, as a banker RBI provides banking facilities to government. provides banking facilities to government. So our government do have the account with Reserve Bank of India, like we are having with commercial banks. In the same way, the government do have the accounts with Reserve Bank of India. Government deposit their money with RBI. And as we take loan from commercial bank, the government can avail the loans from Reserve Bank of India. So basically government avail the loans. In the same situation we avail the loan. We avail the loan when? When our expenditure becomes more than our income. In the same situation when government expenditure overshoot its revenue, the government becomes compelled to take the loan. Like this year, you can see that we are in the midst of financial year of 20, not in the midst of, in fact, it has commenced from the 1st of April, 2022, 23, right? It started on 1st of April 22. It will remain in force till 31st of March next year. For this, financial year, the estimated expenditure of Government of India as per the budget is 39 lakh crore rupees. गवर्नमेंट ने एस्टिमेट बनाया है कि इस साल हमें 39 लाख करोड़ रुपए खर्च करने हैं. ठीक है. This is expenditure of government. And how much is the revenue that government estimate from tax and non-tax sources? This is just 23 lakh crore rupees. So expenditure is much higher as compared to revenue, you can see. There is a deficit in the budget to the extent of 16 lakh crore rupees that government will have to avail the loans from the market. है ना? समझ रहे हो कि नहीं आप लोग? डेफिसिट कितने का है बच्चों? कहाँ से? तो प्राइवेटाइजेशन वही रेवेन्यू में आ गया, वो कैपिटल रिसीट्स है. डिसइन्वेस्टमेंट की बात कर रहे हैं आप जो बात करें डिसइन्वेस्टमेंट, जैसे एयर इंडिया को बेचा गया, वही बात कर रहे हैं ना. सो वो आपका कैपिटल रिसीट्स में है. तो रेवेन्यू का मतलब ही है रिसीट्स अदर देन बोरोइंग्स, यानी डिसइन्वेस्टमेंट भी उसमें आ गया. सबको मिलाकर देखना बजट 23 लाख करोड़ रुपए गवर्नमेंट को मिल रहा, पर एक्सपेंडिचर इज टू द एक्सटेंट ऑफ 39 लाख करोड़ रुपीज, क्रिएटिंग ए डेफिसिट टू द एक्सटेंट ऑफ 16 लाख करोड़ रुपीज. सो गवर्नमेंट को इस साल जो है 16 लाख करोड़ रुपए मार्केट से उधार लेना होगा, है ना. So some of the money that the government will procure is from the Reserve Bank of India. Reserve Bank of India is bank to the government. Government can avail the loan from it, right? That is something we'll discuss when I discuss the topic of fiscal policy and budget, right? There is FRBM Act I will discuss, right, and how the government has been asked to control its fiscal deficit as per the provision of FRBM Act, and I will explain that thing when we are going through that chapter, है ना. For the time being, just I need to convey that Reserve Bank of India gives loans to the government even. So Reserve Bank of India is working as banker to the government. First reason, है ना, it provides banking facilities to the government. Second reason is that RBI conducts, please write it down, RBI conducts all financial transactions of RBI conducts all financial transactions of government on its behalf. RBI conducts all financial transactions of government on its behalf. All financial transactions of government on its behalf. ठीक है? This word has been used here, financial transactions. So here financial transactions means the transactions that involve the use of money, है ना. The transactions that involve the use of money, either the government of India buys something or the government of India sells something, है ना. If it buys something, it will receive the money. It sells something, then if it sells something, it will receive the money. If government of India buys something, it will have to pay the money, right? So let's suppose government of India buys something from the USA. we import something, है ना? I mean to say the government of India imports something from the US. So now it's obligation of government of India to make the payment for this import, right? And now this is the Reserve Bank of India that will make this payment on behalf of government of India. Our financial transactions are conducted on our behalf by our bank. Like if you have to pay the telephone bill, you have to pay the water bill, you have to pay the other bills, you can authorize your bank. You may be busy with your classes, with your preparation, right? You don't have the time to look at the bills and go physically somewhere to make the deposits. So what you do, you order your bank's key, all the banks that you need to just deduct from my account and pay to the parties, right? So our banks take care of our financial transactions. It conducts all the financial transactions on our behalf. Even in case of government, you can see that this is the Reserve Bank of India that take care of, financial transactions of government of India. If government of India has to pay some money to somebody, it will be done by the Reserve Bank of India on behalf of the government, right? But if we export something to the US or other countries, money has to be received by the government of India. Again, this money will be received by the Reserve Bank of India, right? So this is what we mean by the banker to the government. As a banker to the government, Reserve Bank of India conducts all the financial transactions of the government on its behalf, right? And the third important reasons, which is very, very important from your examinations point of view, is that being the banker to government, Reserve Bank of India manages public borrowings or government borrowings. Please write it down. Being the being the banker to the government, RBI manages public borrowings. Public borrowings. You say either public or government. So this question has been asked multiple times in several examinations. Who is the manager of government borrowings? We have seen that government borrow money, है ना? In times of deficit and exigencies, like we have today in terms of COVID, है ना? Government avails some loan from the market. So the question is, who manages public borrowings or the government borrowings? It is the Reserve Bank of India, the central bank of the country, and that is why the Reserve Bank of India is called the manager of public borrowings, है ना? RBI को हम लोग क्या कहते हैं? Manager of public borrowings. So as a manager of public borrowings, what RBI has to do? Look, if RBI is the manager of public borrowings, then RBI will have to ensure that if RBI is the manager of public borrowing, then RBI will have to ensure that government cost of borrowing is minimum, है ना? It has to ensure that government has to pay minimal amount of interest, isn't it? अगर मैं आपका लोन का मैं मैनेजर बन जाऊं, तो मैं क्या इंश्योर करूंगा कि आपको लोन कम से कम ब्याज में मिले, आपको ज़्यादा ब्याज पे करना ना पड़े, आपको लोन पे करने का ड्यूरेशन ज़्यादा मिले. I will decide whether you have to take from the internal sources or you have to take the external loans, है ना? So rate of interest, mode of loan, whether it has to be from the internal sources or from external sources, every nitty-gritty of public borrowings has to be decided by the Reserve Bank of India on behalf of Government of India, है ना? So this is what our banks are doing, है ना? Our banks make sure that our cost of borrowing is minimum, है ना? RBI भी यही इंश्योर कर रही है ना? उनके लोन को मैनेज कर रही है ताकि गवर्नमेंट के ऊपर लोन का बर्डन जो है वो कम से कम आए. गवर्नमेंट का उधार एक ही है, हम लोग पब्लिक यूज करते हैं. हाँ, पब्लिक यूज करते हैं क्योंकि जनरली लोगों का ही उधार है. मैं आपको बताऊंगा फिजिकल पॉलिसी में कैसा ये हमारा उधार है ना? सो क्लियर है? As a banker, what RBI does? RBI does these three things as a banker to the government, right? Second one is RBI is the agent to the government. Here agent means representative, है ना? Agent का मतलब यहाँ पे क्या है? Representative. So Reserve Bank of India is the representative of our government, है ना? Several times RBI work as representative to the government, especially when especially when some national and international conferences are held in which on behalf of government of India participation is made by the Reserve Bank of India. ठीक है, देखो क्या है, मैं आपको एक एग्जांपल से समझा रहा हूँ. We are the member of World Bank, we know that. And let's suppose World Bank is going to convene a conference on banking system and monetary policy, है ना. World Bank will convene this conference on banking and monetary policy. And being a member of World Bank, we would be one of the invitees, right? The government of India will get the invitations that sir, we are going to have this conference on banking and monetary policy, so please आप पार्टिसिपेट कीजिए, है ना. सो इंडिया में कौन सा ऐसा इंस्टीट्यूशन है जिसके पास बैंकिंग और मॉनेटरी पॉलिसीज पर एक्सपर्टीज है? आरबीआई. आरबीआई इज द हेड ऑफ बैंकिंग सिस्टम. आरबीआई इज इन द चार्ज ऑफ मेकिंग एंड इम्प्लीमेंटिंग मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी, right? In every economy, monetary policy is implemented by the central bank of that country, right? So obviously this is the Reserve Bank of India that has the expertise on this matter. So in this particular conference, on behalf of government of India, participation would be made by whom? The Reserve Bank of India. So Reserve Bank of India कैसे काम कर रही है? As a representative to the government of India. Here RBI represents government of India in this conference of World Bank, right? So as an agent to the government, RBI, please write it down, as an agent to the government, RBI participates in various national and international conferences. In various national and international conferences. Clear है? And last but not the least is that Reserve Bank of India is advisor to the government, है ना. Last but not least is the fact that Reserve Bank of India is the advisor to the government, and being the advisor, RBI has to give advice to the government when they are solicited by the government, when they are asked for by the government, है ना. जब गवर्नमेंट एडवाइस मांगेगी तब देना उसके लिए मैंडेटरी है. चाहे एडवाइस ओरल में मांगा जाए तो ओरली देना होगा, रिटेन में मांगा जाए तो रिटेन में देना होगा. आरबीआई गवर्नमेंट के ऑर्डर को मतलब इग्नोर नहीं कर सकती है ना. लेट्स सपोज सम एडवाइस इज बीइंग सॉलिसिटेड, देन आरबीआई विल हैव टू गिव इट. But it's not, binding on the government. The government can accept the advice or not. It depends upon the government, right? Like in 2016, before this demonetization of 500 and 1000 currency, the government of India had, asked the advice of Reserve Bank of India's governor. At that time, Raghuram Rajan was at the helm of affairs of RBI. So firstly, he gave the advice. कि no, you cannot stamp out the problem of corruption and black money using this mode. Don't go for the demonetization, है ना. That will put lots of hardships to the common people, है ना. रघुराम राजन ने मना किया था गवर्नमेंट को मत करो बोलकर. फिर उनसे लिखित में मांगा गया, इकोनॉमिक एक्सप्लेनेशन के साथ मांगा गया कि व्हाट मेक्स यू से सो, है ना. आप बताइए, गिव मी द इकोनॉमिक एक्सप्लेनेशन व्हाई यू वांट एडवाइस फॉर द डिमोनेटाइजेशन. उसने पूरा एक्सप्लेनेशन दिया. स्पाइट ऑफ दैट गवर्नमेंट वेंट अहेड विद इट्स प्लान एंड डिमोनेटाइज्ड 500 and 1000 करेंसीज, राइट. तो ये गवर्नमेंट के ऊपर डिपेंड करता है एडवाइस को माने या ना माने. बट व्हेन दिस इज आस्क्ड फॉर बाय द गवर्नमेंट, व्हेन दिस इज सॉलिसिटेड बाय द गवर्नमेंट फ्रॉम आरबीआई, आरबीआई विल हैव टू गिव इट. बट व्हाई गवर्नमेंट फील द रिक्वायरमेंट ऑफ asking for information or advice from the RBI? Because RBI is an expert institution. It comprises of several economists which do have the expertise in their respective fields, and the government body or the organ of the government may do not have the expertise, है ना. क्योंकि हमारा सिस्टम क्या है, एक पढ़ा लिखा नहीं है वो भी एमपी बन रहा, प्रधानमंत्री बन रहा, बन सकता है ना, बन सकता है कि नहीं. तो जिसको इकोनॉमिक्स नहीं भी पता वो भारत का वित्त मंत्री बन सकता है, ठीक है, लेकिन एट द टाइम ऑफ मेकिंग पॉलिसी even that person will fill the requirement of having the expertise so that appropriate policies can be formulated and the economy can be put into the right path. ये देखिए, ऐसा नहीं कि आपने हिस्ट्री ऑनर्स किया तो आप, शक्तिकांत दास जी हिस्ट्री ऑनर्स में आईएएस ऑफिसर थे, है ना, उनका प्रैक्टिकल एक्सपोजर जो है वो काफ़ी ज़्यादा रहा है ना। उन्होंने रेवेन्यू सेक्रेटरी के रूप में काम किया यार, और क्या चाहिए, है ना। तो देखो, आईपीएस तो ऐसा तो नहीं हुआ, आईपीएस लोग उनका फील्ड ऑफ एक्सपर्टीज अलग है, लेकिन आईएएस लोग जो है ना, ये बहुत सारे, जैसे कोई रेवेन्यू सेक्रेटरी के रूप में, कोई एक्सपेंडिचर सेक्रेटरी के रूप में काम किया, कोई फाइनेंस सेक्रेटरी के रूप में काम किया है, तो दे डू हैव द एक्सपोजर टू द इकोनॉमिक एरियाज, सो दे कैन हैंडल द सिचुएशन मच बेटर एज कम्पेयर टू द पीपल फ्रॉम अदर वर्ड्स, है ना। क्या क्या कर्व्स ऑन, नो आई एम नॉट गेटिंग योर क्वेश्चन। हम्म नहीं, देखिए क्या है, ऐसा है ना कि इस केस में आप देखेंगे कि रघुराम राजन और उसके बाद उर्जित पटेल, इन दोनों का हमारे एग्जिस्टिंग गवर्नमेंट से नहीं बन रहा था ऑन सम मैटर्स, एंड दिस कॉन्फ्लिक्ट बिटवीन रिजर्व बैंक ऑफ इंडिया एंड द गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया इज ऑर्गेनिक इन बिल्ट, है ना। रिजर्व बैंक ऑफ इंडिया जो है ना, टेस्ट मैच खेलती है, 50 ओवर का मैच खेलती है। कौन? आरबीआई। गवर्नमेंट जो है 2020 खेलती है ना। गवर्नमेंट के पास केवल 5 साल का समय होता है अपने अचीवमेंट को प्रूव करने का। 5 साल के बाद उसको फिर से जनता के पास जाना होगा, है ना, कि हमें वोट दीजिए। सो यू हैव ए वेरी स्मॉल स्पैन ऑफ टाइम टू प्रूव योर अचीवमेंट, है ना। सो यू आर इन ए हरी, यू वॉन्ट टू अचीव द थिंग्स इन ए वेरी शॉर्ट स्पैन ऑफ टाइम। इसलिए आप ज्यादा फोकस किस पे करते? ग्रोथ और एम्प्लॉयमेंट पे करते हो। Reserve Bank of India has been, constituted to look the needs of the stability of price. Stability of price, like there should not be the, problem of inflation or deflation in the economy. This is the concern for which Reserve Bank of India has been mandated, है ना। तो इन्फ्लेशन को कंट्रोल करना उसका मेजर कंसर्न है। तो दोनों के थोड़े से ऑब्जेक्टिव्स अलग अलग हो जाते हैं। ऑब्जेक्टिव्स तो एक ही है, लेकिन जिस ड्यूरेशन में वो पाने की कोशिश करे वो अलग अलग हो जाता है। इसलिए ये कॉन्फ्लिक्ट जो है इनके बीच में आता है, ऑर्गेनिक है। इट्स नॉट ओनली विथ दैट वी हैड कॉन्फ्लिक्ट बिटवीन द गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया एंड रघुराम राजन और उर्जित पटेल। जवाहरलाल नेहरू के टाइम भी जो वहाँ पे थे, उनका जवाहरलाल नेहरू से इंदिरा गांधी के टाइम में भी वहाँ के जो गवर्नर थे उनका कॉन्फ्लिक्ट रहा है। और सिर्फ ये इंडिया में भी नहीं है, इससे पहले आप ट्रम्प का जो है वहाँ के हमेशा कॉन्फ्लिक्ट चलता था, राइट। सो दिस इज समथिंग ऑर्गेनिक, हम लोग इसको कुछ नहीं कर सकते ना। बट द थिंग इज दैट द कॉन्फ्लिक्ट बिकेम पब्लिक and Urjit Patel refused to I mean succumb to the pressure of the political parties or the ruling party that no, I'm not going to do this, है ना। rather I would put in my papers and go away from this office, but I will not do something that I'm not convinced of. So both Raghuram Rajan and Urjit Patel did so. They left the office without succumbing to the pressure of the government. But this person was very much in alignment with the government, है ना। आईएएस ऑफिसर है ना, आईएएस ऑफिसर इज ऑल अबाउट द पॉसिबिलिटीज, है ना। वो कॉन्फ्लिक्ट से ज्यादा जो है ना, कॉन्फ्लिक्ट को सॉर्टेड आउट करके क्या है आगे कैसे काम किया जा सकता है उस पर बात कर रहा है ना। हाउ टू रिकंसाइल देम, द नीड्स ऑफ द गवर्नमेंट, द नीड्स ऑफ द रिजर्व बैंक ऑफ इंडिया, राइट। एंड this person became one of the appropriate for the government who will take care of needs of both the Reserve Bank of India, the government. That is why he was made the RBI's governor, right? Anyways, so समझ गए आप लोग? ये क्लियर हो गया पॉइंट, है ना? ये तीसरा. फोर्थ इंपॉर्टेंट फंक्शंस को देखेंगे हम लोग. लिखिए फोर्थ इंपॉर्टेंट फंक्शंस ऑफ आरबीआई. RBI is the custodian of forex reserve. RBI is the custodian of forex reserve. No advice is not binding on the government. मैंने बताया. आप पूछ रहे हैं नकुल, advice is not binding on the government. So the next one is that Reserve Bank of India is the custodian of forex reserve. और रिजर्व ऑफ फॉरेन करेंसी भी बोल सकते हैं. ऑल द फॉरेन करेंसीज दैट वी हैव टुडे आर इन द कस्टडी ऑफ द सेंट्रल बैंक ऑफ दिस कंट्री. द गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया, द स्टेट गवर्नमेंट आर नॉट इन पोजीशन ऑफ आर forex reserve. It is in the possession or custody of whom? The central bank of this country. Right now we are having around $630 billion of forex with us, and all of them are lying with Reserve Bank of India. Reserve Bank of India is the custodian of foreign exchange. This is very factual information, right? But what else you need to understand here is two things more, है ना? The first thing is कि what are the different sources from where an economy get the foreign currency, right? The sources of foreign currency. And second important thing that we need to know is their uses. Why an economy will require a good chunk of foreign exchange. We in our country are using what? Rupee, that is printed by our central bank. So why we need dollar? What are the different uses of foreign exchange? So these are two different additional things that I am going to explain to you, right? First, the sources of foreign exchange, where exactly an economy procures them in large quantity or may procure them in large quantity. So the first important source is export. Yes, export of various goods and services. But does that something done by the government all the time? Is export something done by the government all the time? No. We have several private companies located in our country that manufacture lots of things and sell them abroad, right? We have company A, B, C, D, all. Let's suppose I'm a company and I'm producing this one and I sell it abroad. They will pay me in terms of what? Dollar. They will not pay me in terms of rupee. Rupee is not used in international transactions, right? So being a company, what I'm getting when I sell it? I'm getting dollar, but dollar is useless in our country. I have to have what? Rupee. But I'm earning what? Dollar. So what I will do? I will go to Reserve Bank of India, surrender this dollar that I have earned from abroad and ask for the Indian rupee. So there is an exchange. RBI will come in the possession of dollar. आगे समझ में? So exports are the way we get the foreign exchange. More the export, more the foreign currency. है ना? China is the shining example of getting the foreign exchange more through the export. Most through the export, I would say. है ना? We have only how much? 630, not even 1 trillion. 1 trillion is equal to 1000 billion. You can see that we are not near to even 1000 billion or 1 trillion. China is having 3.5 trillion. That means how much? 3000 billion. है ना? तो उनका सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट सोर्स क्या है? एक्सपोर्ट. वन ऑफ द लार्जेस्ट इकोनॉमी इन द वर्ल्ड दैट एक्सपोर्ट सेवरल गुड्स एंड सर्विसेज ऑल अराउंड द वर्ल्ड, है ना? सेकेंड इंपॉर्टेंट सोर्स इज थ्रू एफडीआई एंड एफपीआई. These are two different kinds of investment that we receive in our country, है ना? One is foreign direct investment and second one is foreign portfolio investment. Portfolio, है ना? What is the difference? You know, in FDI what happens? MNC comes to India, they open their factory, they open their plant here in our country. That is FDI, है ना? Like there could be one company, General Motors, है ना? It's making, you know, automobile in America. It may decide to come to India, open the plant here to manufacture, you know, automobiles. So this is FDI that creates jobs in our country for our youth, है ना? So when this happens, when company from other countries comes to make investment in our country, this is called FDI, and that brings foreign exchange to us. Why? Because when General Motors will come to India, it will have the dollars. It doesn't belong to India, it belongs to US. So it will have its own currency, dollar. But with dollars, this company cannot make investment in our country. For the sake of investment, the company will have to buy like land or building. It will have to buy what? Plant and machine that requires Indian rupee. So General Motors will go to Reserve Bank of India, will give the dollar and ask for the Indian rupee so that investment can be made here. That way, RBI will come in the position of dollar, right? So FDI. FPI is what? That is also investment coming from abroad, but that is investment in our stock market done by foreign investors, right? है ना? Here they make investment on the purchase of share and bonds of Indian companies. They create no jobs, है ना? Just for the sake of profit. They anticipate in the market they are making huge amount of money, right? They find that Indian market is getting attractive, lucrative, right? So they just put in their money in the stock market in colossal amount. Later on there could be some inflation in the prices of share, and at that time they will reap the benefits. They will sell off and go away to their country, right? But when they bring in their investment in the stock market of India, again we have the influx of dollars in our economy that increases the forex reserve with us, right? So this is the second important source of what else? नहीं, आरबीआई खुद से वो एक्सचेंज रेट को मेंटेन करती है, उसके लिए फॉरेन एक्सचेंज को सेल किया जाता है, बाय किया जाता है. मैं पढ़ाऊंगा मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी, तो उसमें एक ऑब्जेक्टिव पढ़ाऊंगा कैसे आरबीआई करती है एक्चुअल में, आपको पता चलेगा, है ना, वहाँ पे क्लियर होगा. where else money from other countries comes to us in terms of remittances. Remittances, what is that? क्या है ये? Indian diaspora sending their money back to the family members of theirs, है ना? So India has around 3 crore people working abroad. 45% of them are working in Gulf countries. It is the preferred destination for Indian people to work over, है ना? 3 करोड़ लोग जो है भारत के बाहर काम कर रहे हैं, लेकिन उनके फैमिली मेंबर्स यहाँ पे हैं. And they keep on sending their money back to their family members. Like some can be in US, they are earning dollar, but their family members are residing in India. They send dollars to their family members, but dollars are useless here. So how money get exchanged? The dollar will go to the Reserve Bank of India, and Reserve Bank of India will give it, in terms of rupee, give it to the family members, right? You must be knowing that India has been, for the last 1 decade of time, India has been the second largest recipient of remittances after China. Right? We have been the second largest recipient of remittances after China. On an average, we are getting around $60 billion every year in terms of remittances. Okay? So it's a very important source of foreign exchange that we are getting from. Where else? और कहाँ से हम लोग को मिलता है? टूरिज्म से. टूरिस्ट यहाँ पे आते हैं, they also bring in some amount of foreign exchange to us, right? And we also get it in terms of some external loans and assistance, है ना? External loan and assistance. आ रहा समझ में ना? क्यों? आपको आ रहा समझ में? हमें कुछ एक्सटर्नल लोन्स मिल रहे हैं या असिस्टेंस मिल रहे हैं. दैट इज ऑल्सो इन टर्म्स ऑफ फॉरेन एक्सचेंज. सो दीज आर द इंपॉर्टेंट सोर्सेज ऑफ फॉरेन exchange for any of the economies, including India. But the more important thing to understand is what are the different uses of this foreign exchange. After all, we are living in a domestic economy where domestic currency must be used. But why we intend to have a good chunk of foreign exchange? Or why some countries, they are just scrambling for having it more when they are not having it in actual practice. Like Sri Lanka today, है ना? Sri Lanka is, scrambling for more and more foreign exchange, which is very difficult to obtain it right now. है ना? Pakistan is also in that category. है ना? It has only $3 billion, Pakistan, right? So why it is that important? And why the economy comes to the brink of collapse if they are not having a sufficient amount of foreign exchange? India did have the same kind of situations that Sri Lanka or Pakistan is confronting today. In 1991, even in the last class, I discussed that our foreign exchange reserve had got depleted to only $1 billion, right? And with that $1 billion, India could import only for 3 weeks of time. After that, there was no money for the sake of imports, right? So the first important use of having foreign exchange is that it enables us, foreign exchange enable us to import things that we need for the sake of growth and development, है ना? इंपोर्ट के लिए चाहिए, ये हमें इंपोर्ट्स के लिए चाहिए. कोई कंट्री सेल्फ सफिशिएंट नहीं है. जैसे इंडिया जो है टेक्नोलॉजी के मामले में काफ़ी पिछड़ा है. हम हमेशा से सबसे ज़्यादा टेक्नोलॉजी को हम इंपोर्ट करते रहे और उसके बिना डेवलपमेंट नहीं होगा. अब मान लो कि हमारे पास फॉरेन एक्सचेंज ही नहीं, क्योंकि जब व्हेन यू इंपोर्ट समथिंग फ्रॉम अदर कंट्रीज यू हैव टू पे इन टर्म्स ऑफ डॉलर. They will not going to, they will not accept Indian rupee. So you must have good quantity of them. Right now, the quantity that we are having, is enough to support our import plan of 2 years of time. हम लोग 2 साल तक आराम से इसे import कर सकते हैं, right? तो ये है, imports के लिए चाहिए. Why else? To make investment abroad. Like those people are coming to India and they are making investment in our country in terms of FDI and FPI. So there could be some Indians who may have some overseas ambition. Like Ratan Tata may have some overseas ambition. They want to open the factory in UK, US or Canada like this. है ना? Or we may have some investors among Indian people that want to make investment in stock market of other countries. Right? So we people also make investment in other countries, but for making investment in those countries, we need to have the currency, international currency, right? If Reserve Bank of India is not having good chunk of them, then people like Ratan Tata and we cannot make investment abroad, and that is going to restrict our capacity of earning from abroad. That's going to limit our national income. The more we investment abroad, the more income comes from those countries. The more we invest in other countries, the more assets we become the owner of in those countries, right? But this will not become possible unless and until we have the good chunk of foreign exchange. So this is required to make investment abroad. To make investment abroad. Why else? Why else? To to enable the foreign visits. To enable foreign visits. ठीक है? We make the visits of foreign countries for 3 different regions. है ना? हम लोग बाहर देश जाते 3 रीजन से जाते हैं primarily. The first one is to pursue higher studies. है ना? You may go abroad to pursue higher study. है ना? You want to go to those countries so that you can pursue a higher study. है ना? First reason. Second reason, to have the medical facility in those countries. है ना? Medical services को avail करने जा रहे हैं. And the third and the less important reason is to roam about in that country as a tourist. घूमने के लिए जा रहे हैं आप, है ना? Whatever the reason, whether it is for pursuing the higher study or availing the medical services or just as a tourist, you will have the requirement of dollars or foreign exchange to stay in that country, to live in that country and to take care of your expenses over there. है ना? But if our economy is having, paucity of them, then Indian people cannot go abroad. Our cultural, educational and business, interactions with those countries will be broken because we have the dearth of them. है ना? But if we have sufficient quantity of them, then integration of our economy with those country will be the robust one, the stronger one, है ना? आ गया समझ में? सो हमें फॉरेन विजिट्स के लिए भी ये चीज चाहिए. Why else? To make interest payment on our external loans. This is one important reasons we must have good quantity of foreign exchange, otherwise we will come on the brink of default, and once we default our external loans, that is going to downgrade our ratings in international market, and in future chances are that we are not going to get the loans from them, right? And even if we get at higher rate of interest, है ना? So India was on the brink of default in 1991. लेकिन हमने फिर हमारे पास जो गोल्ड का रिजर्व था उसको हमने गिरवी रखा बैंक ऑफ इंग्लैंड के पास. सो वी कुड जस्ट स्टेव ऑफ द सिचुएशन, बट नॉट एवरी कंट्री कुड बी एज लकी एज इंडिया वॉज. Like Sri Lanka was on the brink of. Pakistan, several times Pakistan had the crisis of dearth of foreign exchange, right? तो अगर आपके पास वो नहीं है तो आपने जितना एक्सटर्नल लोन्स लिया आप डिफॉल्ट करेंगे. डिफॉल्ट करने से फिर आपकी रेटिंग्स क्या हो जाएगी? कम हो जाएगी. आपको फिर फ्यूचर में उधार नहीं मिलेगा, है ना? सो दीज आर सम ऑफ द इंपॉर्टेंट रीजंस वी मस्ट हैव गुड क्वांटिटी, अपार्ट फ्रॉम द फैक्ट दैट इवन रिजर्व बैंक ऑफ इंडिया नीड्स द फॉरेन exchange to ensure the stability of our currency. That point I will discuss later on when I discuss the monetary policy, but these are the general uses of foreign exchange for an economy. Yes. हम लोगों से कोई आपको इंटरनेशनल संस्था, कोई बैंक, कमर्शियल बैंक आपको लोन नहीं देगी. आपने डिफॉल्ट किया है ना पहले पैसा, ठीक है? ग्रीस ने यही किया था, उसको प्रॉब्लम हुआ. नहीं, कंट्रीज भी क्यों देगा यार? जर्मनी ने बहुत सारा लोन दे रखा था उसे, जर्मनी के पैसे डूब गए. अब जर्मनी देना चाहेगा? नहीं देना चाहेगा. बायलैटरल बेसिस में भी आपको लोन तभी मिलेगा जब आपका ट्रैक रिकॉर्ड जो है अच्छा है. समझ रहे कि नहीं? इसलिए बहुत मुश्किल होता है, डिफॉल्ट नहीं करना चाहिए, ठीक है? तो ये मैंने आपको बताया. एंड नाउ विल डिस्कस लास्ट इंपॉर्टेंट फंक्शंस ऑफ रिजर्व बैंक ऑफ इंडिया, है ना? और एक फंक्शंस को मैं डिस्कस कर रहा हूँ और इसके बाद हम लोग क्लास को आज खत्म करेंगे, है ना? और ये जो फंक्शंस मैं डिस्कस करूंगा ना, ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. पूरा मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी इसी पे बेस्ड है, आगे का टॉपिक भी इसी पे बेस्ड है. इसलिए इस पर्टिकुलर टॉपिक को, टाइम हो गया लेकिन आप थोड़ा सा हड़बड़ाए नहीं, इस टॉपिक को ठीक से करना आप लोग. रिजर्व बैंक ऑफ इंडिया जो कि सेंट्रल बैंक है, इसका एक काम है, वो है कंट्रोलिंग ऑफ क्रेडिट इन द इकोनॉमी, ठीक है? कंट्रोलिंग ऑफ क्रेडिट इन द इकोनॉमी. सो फर्स्ट विल सी कि why this is necessary. हम लोग ये देखेंगे why controlling of credit by Reserve Bank of India is necessary, or what happens, what adverse impact it will engender in the economy if Reserve Bank of India fails to control credit in the economy. We'll discuss that, right? Then how credit is controlled, methods, उसको हम लोग नेक्स्ट टॉपिक में पढ़ने वाले हैं. कल की क्लास में जाओ, मैंने क्या लिखा था? फंक्शंस के बाद हम लोग पढ़ेंगे इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स ऑफ क्रेडिट कंट्रोल, है ना? What instruments or tools are used by Reserve Bank of India to control credit? That becomes, the next topic, right? So even the next topic I told you that is related to the, the functions of Reserve Bank of India I'm discussing right now. But in this particular topic, I will discuss the imperatives for which Reserve Bank of India must be controlling the credit. But before that, we'll ask ourselves some questions. Like we'll ask, who provides credit in the economy? Who provides credit in the economy? बताइए. Is it Reserve Bank of India? रिजर्व बैंक ऑफ इंडिया क्रेडिट देता है क्या यार? आपको उधार लेना है, क्रेडिट का मतलब यहाँ पे लोन होता। क्रेडिट का मतलब क्या है? सो आपको क्रेडिट लेना है तो किससे लेते हैं? उधार लेना है, किससे लेते हैं? कमर्शियल बैंक्स, है ना? सो हु प्रोवाइड्स क्रेडिट? कमर्शियल बैंक्स, कमर्शियल बैंक्स। बट हु कंट्रोल्स क्रेडिट? आरबीआई। ये डिफरेंस याद रखो, है ना? क्रेडिट इज प्रोवाइडेड बाय कमर्शियल बैंक बट इट इज कंट्रोल्ड बाय आरबीआई। इट इज कंट्रोल्ड बाय आरबीआई। वाई? हाँ, वो तो सारे इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स हैं, है ना? बट नाउ विल आस्क आवर सेल्व्स कि वाई आरबीआई कंट्रोल्स क्रेडिट। सो यहाँ पे इसका रीजन को समझिए, क्रेडिट को कंट्रोल करना क्यों जरूरी है। सो कमर्शियल बैंक्स क्रेडिट प्रोवाइड करती है। अगर कमर्शियल बैंक्स ने बहुत ज्यादा क्रेडिट लोगों के बीच में बांट दिया, बहुत ज्यादा उधार दे दिया, henceforth I will be using this capital C to denote credit in the economy, है ना? So let's suppose a huge amount of money has been disbursed by the banks in our system in terms of credit. So that's going to increase the quantity of money with people of India. Technically this is called money supply. Money supply will increase, है ना? Supply of money or money supply, what does that mean? To denote money supply I will be using capital M, है ना? So this means quantity of money we are having at a point of time. If I say that India's money supply is 27 lakh crore rupees, that means this is the total amount of money we are having at this point of time. Got it? So if more credit is provided by commercial banks, obviously this is going to increase quantity of money with people. Money supply will increase. Since they have got money from banks in terms of credit, their purchasing power will increase, money supply increases, and they will start demanding goods and services. Some will go to market and buy the things they require, like refrigerator or bike or anything they need, right? So when money supply increases, this will increase aggregate demand for goods and services, है ना? Once we have more money, as it is coming from the commercial banks in terms of trade, we are going to translate this into buying the things from market. It's going to augment the aggregate demand, है ना? But supply at a point of time remain constant. Supply cannot be increased overnight. Supply तो वो तो constant ही रहता है ना. To increase the supply we need some good amount of time. यही है ना? So supply is constant but demand has increased. Demand becomes more than supply, and when demand becomes more than supply, what happens? We have the inflation in our economy. So inflation will, be germinated in our economy if a huge amount of credit is provided by commercial bank. So to ensure that people are not impacted by inflation, है ना? To ensure that people are not impacted by inflation, RBI has to step in. RBI has to intervene and control credit. So when there is inflation, prices are increasing as a result of more disbursal of loans by the commercial bank. Here Reserve Bank of India will come down, है ना? And will try to ensure that now less amount of credit is being disbursed by the commercial bank so that inflation can be tamed out, है ना? Inflation can be tamed out. Are you getting my point? On the other hand, if the behavior of commercial bank is just opposite, let's suppose commercial bank has become parsimonious, it has become stingy, it's not disbursing that much of loan in the economy, है ना? इन्होंने अपने क्रेडिट को क्या कर दिया? कम कर दिया. So obviously money supply in the economy will get down, है ना? It will impact the aggregate demand in the economy, क्योंकि बहुत लोग बैंक से उधार लेकर चीज़ों को खरीदते हैं, तब चीज़ों की डिमांड बढ़ती है. अब लोगों को बैंक से क्रेडिट कम मिल रहे हैं, so this is finally going to impact the aggregate demand in the economy. And when demand comes down, so does price. Price move in the same direction as demand. They are companion, है ना? They are companion to each other. More the demand, more the price. Less the demand, less the price. जिसका डिमांड बढ़ता है उसका भाव बढ़ जाता है. यू कॉल समबडी फाइव टाइम्स ए डे, आपने उसका डिमांड बढ़ा दिया, उसका भाव भी बढ़ जाएगा, है ना. स्टॉप कॉलिंग दैट पर्सन. आपने डिमांड कम कर दिया, उधर से फिर कॉल आ जाता, आज आपने कॉल क्यों नहीं किया. होता है कि नहीं. समझ रहे हो आप लोग, समझ रहे हो ना. तो प्राइस या भाव जो है ना वो डिमांड के ऊपर डिपेंड करता है. यहां पे क्या हो रहा है, डिमांड कम हो रहा, प्राइस भी कम होगा. प्राइस का कम होना डिफ्लेशन कहलाता है. दिस इज कॉल्ड डिफ्लेशन. इंक्रीज इन प्राइस इज कॉल्ड इन्फ्लेशन, decrease in price is called deflation, and both the situations are, harmful for the economy and its people. And I would say that deflation is more harmful than inflation. Deflation is more harmful than inflation. Why this is so? Because when we have deflationary phase in our economy, when prices are plummeting southward, है ना, when prices are plummeting southward, then this is disincentivizing our producers. When they will find that demand is not strong in the economy and prices are plummeting southward, their incentive to produce more will be go out of window. They will not like to produce in such a pessimistic situation when their profit are at a stake, है ना. तो वो क्या करेगा, ज्यादा आउटपुट को प्रोड्यूस नहीं करना चाहेगा. ज्यादा आउटपुट को प्रोड्यूस नहीं करना चाहेगा तो वो लोगों को रोजगार नहीं देगा, और जो भी लोग काम कर रहे हैं दे विल बी रिट्रेंच्ड, है ना, दे विल बी लेड ऑफ, उसको काम से बाहर किया जाएगा. विल हैव द प्रॉब्लम ऑफ अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट, एंड वंस यू हैव द प्रॉब्लम ऑफ अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट दैट मीन्स नाउ lesser number of workers are working in the economy, and that is going to reduce our production और जीडीपी, है ना. डोमेस्टिक प्रोडक्ट कम हो जाएगा क्योंकि कम लोग काम कर रहे हैं ना, तो प्रोडक्शन कम हो जाएगा, अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट बढ़ गया. ये जब दो सिचुएशन साइमल्टेनियसली देखने को मिलते हैं ना, दिस इज कॉल्ड रिसेशन. सुना है आप लोग, इकोनॉमिक रिसेशन सुने हैं, स्लो डाउन और रिसेशन सुने हो. दिस इज व्हाट हैपेंस एट द टाइम ऑफ इकोनॉमिक रिसेशन. एट द टाइम ऑफ इकोनॉमिक रिसेशन यू हैव मास अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट अलोंग विथ रिड्यूस्ड जीडीपी और प्रोडक्शन, है ना. ये मंदी है, बोलता ना इकोनॉमी आप रिसेशन में है, स्लो डाउन में है. सो यू हैव टू डिफरेंट वेस्टिजेस ऑफ दिस मंदी और रिसेशन, मैसिव अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट एंड प्लमिटिंग जीडीपी. आगे समझ में. तो यहाँ पे कमर्शियल बैंक के बिहेवियर से देखिए, इट ब्रिंग्स लॉट्स ऑफ चेंजेस इन द इकोनॉमी. द चेंजेस कुड बी पॉजिटिव एज वेल एज नेगेटिव. If it disburses appropriate amount of credit in the economy will remain in balance, neither inflation nor deflation. But if huge amount of money is being disbursed in the greed of earning more and more interest by commercial banks, then this is going to engender inflation in the economy. So the greed of commercial bank, or the impact of greed of commercial bank, will be on common people. They will have to bear higher prices for every goods and services they buy from the market. On the other hand, if they become miser and parsimonious, obviously it will be at the cost of deflation, and finally it will bring the economy towards the brink of recession, right? Increasing the misery of common people. In both the situations, RBI has to step in, intervene, and to ensure that neither we have the situation of inflation nor we have the situations of deflation. So what questions I am going to address here in this topic? I am going to address these particular questions. Ki why RBI should control credit? So RBI should control credit to ensure that there is neither the situation of inflation or deflation, है ना. और RBI should control credit to ensure that economy is protected, economy is insulated against the adverse impact of both inflation as well as deflation. Or in brief, you can say that RBI controls credit to ensure stability of price, है ना. Stability of price, you are getting my point. When RBI ensures that there should be neither the situation of inflation nor the situation of deflation, then what RBI is striving for? RBI is striving for stability of price. So stability of price is the main reason behind controlling of credit by Reserve Bank of India. RBI doesn't want that economies suffer from the I mean, adverse impact of inflation as well as deflation. That is why RBI step in and control credit in the economy. So this is an important responsibility, an important work of the central bank of the country. It controls credit to ensure that economy remains insulated against the adverse impact of inflation and deflation. But how this is done by Reserve Bank of India, that is something I will discuss in the next topic in the next class on Monday, right? In that topic, we'll discuss all the instruments, all the policy tools that Reserve Bank of India is having at its disposal that can be used to control credit. है ना? आ गया समझ में आप लोगों को? सो आप लोग रिवीजन जरूर करो. अगर रिवीजन नहीं करोगे तो मुश्किल होगा. कीप रिवाइजिंग थिंग्स, है ना. इकोनॉमिक्स इज समथिंग डिफिकल्ट. मेरा फोकस यहाँ पे आपको ज़्यादा लिखवाने पे नहीं है, फिर भी मैं कुछ इंपॉर्टेंट लिखवा रहा हूँ. एंड यू विल बी गेटिंग द प्रिंटेड नोट्स, है ना. यू विल गेटिंग द प्रिंटेड नोट्स. समटाइम्स लेट्स सपोज यू फेल टू राइट इट समथिंग हियर इन द क्लास, देन डोंट वरी, है ना. ये सारे लेक्चर जो है मैंने अपने लिखा है, अपने से लिखा है. जिस ऑर्डर में मैं पढ़ा रहा हूँ ना, उसी तरीके से मैंने लिखा भी है. तो घर में जाकर पढ़ोगे तो वो कॉम्पनसेट हो जाएगा, समझ में आ जाएगा आप लोगों को, है ना. तो आपको ज़्यादा वरीड होने की ज़रूरत नहीं है. बट मेक श्योर दैट यू डोंट डिरेल फ्रॉम योर रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी और शर्क योर रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी, है ना. यू जस्ट go through the class notes and printed notes that are given on daily basis. That's what you need to do here. ठीक है. The next class will be on Monday. Thank you.